All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We are talking about the Chicago Bears in tonight's video. We said this yesterday. This is, just like Kevin Warren said, this is by far, in my opinion, I guess the regular season not over, but by far to me, this is the best head coaching position in the National Football League. I completely agree. And there's a couple of things, we'll talk about some coaches later on here, but there's a couple of things you've noticed from Caleb Williams and honestly Thomas Brown, the interim head coach. Caleb looks really, really, really good. Really good, specifically in the last 3 weeks. And I think I was watching the herd and he said something like, if I told you, he had less or more touchdowns, the same amount of touchdowns as Jalen Hurts, and he had, the same amount of interceptions as Kyler Murray, bunch of specific examples, neither here nor there. The point still is, what Caleb has done is really impressive. And we were kind of talking about this yesterday, where it just hasn't quite translated to victories, and it will come. There's only a couple of games or a few games left for Chicago this upcoming season, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't be fooled by the Washington Commanders and CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans of last season. These are very, very kind of just outliers. They're just outliers. That doesn't happen with most rookie quarterbacks, and I guess Bo Nix also grouped in there, but when you get drafted number one overall, rightfully so, there's always some expectations in place. But even look at Bryce Young from the last couple of games. He's looking better in that stretch than CJ Stroud. So Caleb, hopefully, is the quarterback for the next 10 plus years for the Chicago Bears, right? That's the hope. It's a franchise QB. So before we get any further into tonight's rant, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you're trying to get this video to 100 likes, folks, that would mean the absolute world to me. I was getting a little bit fired up because the Chicago Bears are the first team in the Super Bowl era, aka a very long time, to lose 6 consecutive games without throwing an interception. Absolutely insane. So the Lions, last 3. The Lions, the Vikings, and the Green Bay Packers. Those are 3 of unarguably the top 10 teams in the National Football League. Detroit's number 1, number 2, Green Bay's top 6, top 7, Minnesota's top 5, top 6. These are like 3 of the best teams in the National Football League. The Chicago Bears lost to that group by a combined 7 total points. The Chicago Bears are technically 4-8. They're on a 6-game losing streak right now, but they have a +1 point differential. So the talent is clear. And this is what Kevin Warren, the president of the Chicago Bears, was saying a couple of days ago. Like, look, this is going to be the most coveted job in the NFL head coach sphere, because you have Caleb, you have DJ Moore, you have Keenan Allen, you have Rome Odunze, you have DeAndre Swift, you have Cole Kmet, you have a top 10 defense. There are so many pieces around. And they've kind of been compared to the Los Angeles Chargers before they got before they got Harbaugh. Like, you had Herbert, who was a little bit more solidified, been around in the league for a couple of seasons, has had some success. So a little bit different than Caleb, but I will just say, right now, the Chicago Bears roster, in my opinion, is better than the Los Angeles Chargers roster 1 year ago, 365 days ago. And at that point in the Chargers season, it was kind of doom and gloom. Like, geez, man, we really need to figure out the head coaching position. Are we ever going to figure out the head coaching position? This has been something that has plagued our franchise for way too long. And it kind of feels reminiscent of what Chicago's dealing with right now. But to even just go a little bit further, this really pissed me off. The Chicago Bears have had 2 winning seasons since making the NFC Championship in 2010. That's 14 years ago. 2 winning seasons. Even worse, I saw this in an Athletic article. The Chicago Bears have not won a Sunday road game since December 26th, 2021. Matt Nagy was the head coach. So I was reading an article from John Greenberg, and the headliner was this: can the Bears find a leader of men as their next head coach? So there's a couple options you could go here, and this is the schools of thought that John Greenberg kind of drew up. The Bears are going to hire an offensive-minded coach to shepherd Caleb Williams to stardom. So some guys would be Ben Johnson, Cliff Kingsbury, Bobby Slowick, and then option number 2 would be the Chicago Bears are going to hire a leader of men. And I think in that article, he was talking about guys like Brian Flores, Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick. We mentioned John Gruden in our Bears video yesterday, which most people really did not like. But the Chicago Bears have a really good situation, as grim, as doom and gloom as it may seem right now, because they haven't won a game in almost 2 full calendar months. The future's still extremely bright. Now, Harbaugh comes to mind as a guy kind of in between, or a little bit of both. He's a hire a leader of men, but also an offensive-minded coach. That's kind of what Harbaugh is, right? In the article, there was a quote of this: football coaches are like a holiday trend. Some years, everyone wants an offensive genius who looks like a tech entrepreneur. Other years, they want a guy bulging biceps and a dip in their lips, or the unflappable veteran who can coach all kinds of players. So some guys that come to mind here, actually, we'll look at betting odds, and just saying that out loud, Dan Campbell probably comes to mind. The leading head coach for the Chicago Bears this upcoming season, as far as betting goes, Ben Johnson. Number 2, Cliff Kingsbury. Number 3, Mike Vrabel. Number 4, Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman, Todd Monken, Joe Brady, Thomas Brown, Bill Belichick. So I think there was another one in there. Kyle Shanahan. We talked about this yesterday. I think that kind of seems like a reach. I don't really know why he would leave San Francisco. I don't really know why San Francisco would fire him. He's done a phenomenal job. Most people, judging from my Bears video yesterday, want a guy like Ben Johnson or even a Cliff Kingsbury. There were a couple of Vrabel comments in there, but the main thing to me is the head coach, because you can go out there and you can get a Dan Campbell, who's more of like a Mike Tomlin, leader of men type of dude. Current example would be a Brian Flores. To me, and I think once again, just to circle back to Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers, what matters the most is the head coach. And one of the biggest reasons why is because of who he's going to hire. Good coaches hire very good other coaches that specialize in certain areas, right? So you look at Dan Campbell, the head coach of the Detroit Lions. He was a former tight end for the Detroit Lions, and he is more so on the offensive side of things, but he's built like a tank. You would compare him more to like Mike Tomlin's type of coaching style. But my point just is, he hired Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator. They hired Aaron Glenn as the defensive coordinator. They have a top 5 offense. They have a top 10 defense right now. So even if you hire a Mike Vrabel or a Bill Belichick or even a Marcus Freeman, that doesn't mean you can't go find your Ben Johnson on offense. That doesn't mean you can't go find your Cliff Kingsbury on offense or your Bobby Slowick. So good coaches hire really good coaches to surround themselves with. And so to me, I don't really care about coordinators. We can deal with that in the offseason. I really like Thomas Brown, and I'm rooting for him, but typically in the NFL, interim head coaches don't stick around for that long. So need a win. San Francisco on the road. But that's it for today. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Let me know your thoughts on the Chicago Bears head coaching position down below. We'll see you in a couple of days. Peace.